What up YouTube, it's Missouri's Company. In today's video, we're going to be going into stage 2 or phase 2 of our 3 series video session of familiars. And more importantly, this one is our advanced familiars guide. In our first video, we talked about everything that a beginner would need to know as just coming to the game for the first time, being like, whoa, there's pets slash familiars in Diablo Immortal. What is that? Where is that? And what do you do with them? We answered all those questions, so much more in the first video. So this is the second one, which we'll be going into a little bit more detail and getting a little bit more answers to those questions as to what to do with familiars and how to really min-max them. Let's get straight to it, guys. So first things first, we talked about how to get familiars, where to get familiars, how to get the contracts, how to get the spirit essences, and the best way of doing all of those things. Now let's talk about a little bit more advanced topics. So first things first is going to be, should you sell your familiars? Because if you weren't aware, you can sell them in the auction house. So if we go over to the auction house, you can sell them under familiars, and they sell for a good amount of money on my server. You can sell the ordinary and the aberrant. Obviously, aberrants go for a lot more because that's how you get the ability of getting a legendary familiar, which we'll talk about in this video. But you can see that they go for a lot of platinum. In my honest opinion, if you are basically anything except for a, high-end PvPer, my answer is yes. You should be selling your familiars as much as possible for max plat, literally 100% more in some cases. I would highly recommend it. Now, reason being is that the market will surely come down at a certain point when it comes to familiars. And by the time you see this video, if they're not going for 100+% from what they are originally in terms of platinum cost, don't sell them. But honestly, from a free-to-play standpoint, the familiars that you're going to want is at least one for your companion. That's the one equipped at the very top right here. That's your companion one. This is my Varog. He picks up all my shit for me. It's awesome. I really appreciate Varog when he does that. Now you can see that I have bonded ones as well. Bonded familiars. It's not something we covered in our previous video, which is a perfect segment into today's video, which is going to be, you have up to 4 bonded familiars, and what you get from them are their passive skills. So the passive skills can be seen right here below the active skills. And that's it. You also get the ability of getting their traits, which are only unlocked if they are strong enough. So you can see that this right here, we have their active traits active. So finesse increases skill damage, and then survival instinct, maximum life increase. That's not just for the familiar, it's for you as well, which is fantastic. And you can see the other traits we have is damage taken reduced and damage reduction increase, which is, I feel like the same thing every time I read this. That feels like I'm reading the same thing, just worded differently, but whatever. I'm probably wrong. But your bonded ones are just as important as your companion, if not more important, because we talked about traits in our last video, but the best way of getting traits is going to be via conversion. Now, what is conversion, you might ask? I'm so glad you asked. If we go over here to empower, you get to this screen, your familiar screen. If you go to, it has to be level 30. Boop. Again, in order to convert, they do have to be level 30. But if you go to convert, we are selecting familiar. Yes, you can select 2 additional familiars that are also level 30 in order to convert them into a brand new familiar, which, as it says right there. Now, the conversion process is very, very, very important. In fact, I would do this over the second process that we'll talk about in just a second, which is melding. I did cover this already in a video, but in order to keep everything nice and concise and in one series for you, I'm going to put it right here in the advanced familiar guide. You're going to want to do conversion over melding as much as possible, especially in the beginning, because the only way, one of the main ways of getting higher ranking familiars is through that conversion process. So if I were to convert let's say all these guys were level 30, so this guy, this one, and this one, I would have a 30% chance of getting an aberrant familiar and a 10% chance of that familiar having what is called, boop, go over here, where is it at? A 10% chance of having an exclusive utility trait, which is going to be either from being able to salvage your items for you, identify your items for you, or go to the armory on your behalf and actually change your overall loadout. These are utility traits that are going to be super fantastic and are not tied to your attributes. It's only a 10% chance that you can get one via conversion, and it's such a sought after trait. I'm sure they sell for probably max platinum, and it's one that I'm even looking for myself. Now, any level companion in terms of rarity can have that trait. It's just a 10% chance of obtaining it from your conversion, and then a 30% chance it turns into an aberrant familiar. Now, let's say you know at this point you now know what converting is. It combines 3 max level familiars and turns them into a brand new one, hopefully of a rarer difficulty or higher rarity than what you already had, with also hopefully better skills. So you can see, again, going back to the first video, colors illustrate how rare something is. You're going to want to get as many rare skills as you can, because it nets you the highest percentage for whatever that trait is or the skill is. But also, more importantly, when it comes to conversion, that's going to be how you have the best probability of getting your traits activated. Now, what do I mean by that? So in order to, after you convert, and let's say you get a magic one like my Virog here, you're going to see that his trait is inactive because the damage taken reduced is inactive, because he doesn't have the required agility at 120. His agility is only 96. Well, we can go to the second method, which is melding, which is going to be a lot longer to do, or you could just convert them, and if you get a rare one, there is a almost guaranteed chance that the traits they have will have a attribute at level 120 or higher to have them active. So think of it more as like a true Pokemon game. The best strategy when it comes to your familiars is to quote unquote collect all the badges, like I said, similar to as if this is Pokemon in Diablo Immortal. You go to your trait guide, your goal should be getting all 11 of these as possible, really all 8. So 8 right here are the traits that you could have, and then we have the 3 utility ones. Personally, I'm going to be focusing on my bonded companions as much as possible and getting all 8 as soon as I can, because again, I can have up to 4 of these. In case you're curious on how to unlock the familiar bond slots, you just need to spend a ton of gold. It goes up incrementally. The last slot's 5 million, the second to last slot's 2 million. It's going to take me a while to unlock this one, but you can see I would have 2, 4, 6, 8 traits available if I had 2 per each of my ordinary familiars. So I could in theory have all 8 of these traits on my 4 active bonds, which is my goal, and then my companion will of course be something different, or part of that, or likely a utility trait would be ideal realistically. So that gives you the basically 5 chances of getting all of your traits active, which is what my goal is. You can see I got very lucky with the traits that I have for my 2 companions that are at max level right now, because they're different. So I do have 4 out of 11, which is pretty fantastic. It's basically halfway there, and I love that. Now, of course, your traits can come in both magic, rare, which is gold, and legendary. So in order to really min-max, you could go for all legendary traits, which of course will take a very long time. I'm just looking to have all the traits active, ideally in rare, which is perfect, but if not, that's fine too. And honestly, I really wanted the salvage trait. That's the one I'm probably going for the most. But the other thing you can do with your pets is, if we go to familiar details, is meld them. Yes. So you can meld familiars, select a familiar to meld. Now, it says I don't have a familiar because I don't have another one that matches the same thing. Melding, if we go over here to the tooltips, so melding a familiar can only be done with ordinary familiars, not aberrant familiars. Melding combines 2 familiars to produce a new level 30 familiar, which inherits its species, attributes, traits, and skills from the familiar being melded. So again, it's inheriting the higher attributes, traits, and skills. The new familiar will have 6 passive skills of your choice. So of all the skills that the 2 familiars have, you can actually hand pick all of the skills, the passive skills that you want, all 6 of them, which is a really nice thing to do. The new familiar skill qualities will mirror the melded familiar with the greatest number of rare skills. If both melded familiars have the same number of rare passive skills, the new familiar will trade 1 existing magic slot for a rare slot. So again, if they're all the same, you will get 1 higher. When melding familiars of the same species, if the familiar which is not preserved has any attributes higher than the preserved familiar, the new familiar will receive a +1 bonus in that specific attribute slot. So again, let's say if we were to meld and the other one had higher agility, I would get higher agility from that, which is fine, but it's going to take a ton in order to get them to the high enough attributes. So the highest way of getting it is going to be through conversion. But then there's a third option. You can also exchange your attributes. So let's see, we can do this one and then this one. What it'll do is it will cost me 3k plat, which doesn't feel great, but it'll actually convert everything. If we go up here to the tooltips, attributes can only be exchanged between the same type of familiar. So again, Virog to Virog, that is what they mean there. attributes that transfer: ferocity, agility, and insight and resilience. So I'm basically trading these stats to this one. Now, why would you do this? If let's say this Farog had a legendary trait and he doesn't, but let's say he did, I could transfer, or I'm sorry, exchange the attributes from this one to this one and give him the higher attributes in order to hopefully activate that legendary trait. So this is all about which traits you want to have active. Now, obviously I wouldn't do that in this one because he has the same trait that I do in this one, and I have another one that's already active. So I would never do that in this situation. But let's say the roles were reversed, where I had 2 of these active traits over here and he was rare and he was magic, so blue and then yellow. I would do this so that way I could get basically what I have right now, and then would also give me the additional higher stats. So there's 3 different things that we covered in today's video. It's what the exchange process is, when and why you would do it. We talked about converting, we talked about melding. You always want to prioritize converting over melding, at least in my strongest opinion. That's going to net you the higher probability of filling out all of your traits. That's actually also what I'm doing right now. Like I already said, I have 4 out of 8, and I still have another rare pet that I need to get to max level to see what traits they have, and then I could have even higher. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Again, this has been the advanced guide to familiars. If you want to see my expert guide to familiars, make sure you like and subscribe, guys, because that video will be coming out very, very soon. Until next time, lock it in.